Kirk, thanks for joining us.
No problem, man.
Appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Well, so technically now we are on episode 7, I think. No, 8. 8. We did 7 last week.
Sure
yeah. Sorry. Yeah, like again, I was telling you earlier, Kirk, like how we chop it up. I lose track sometimes. I'm not the best producer.
But we can make this number 5 or 10, however we want to. We can rearrange them.
We could.
So,
make it more confusing for me.
No one ever would know.
Just me.
Yeah.
I hate being in front of camera. I don't know
You
why.
don't even know where to look and your
I
arms
literally got self-conscious in this moment. Just I like started sweating out of nowhere.
So is this like YouTube and all that? You do
Yeah,
all that?
yeah.
Oh, dang.
So
wow.
yeah, so like we'll clip it up, we'll chop it up and then throw it on Instagram or wherever we like, we do like little clips and stuff like that. And then we'll throw the long form onto YouTube and then the audio form on Spotify and iTunes.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Dang.
yeah.
What I just noticed, though, right now is that my nose is whistling. So if you hear it, the random whistle,
The allergy whistles, bro.
it's just Dave. It's the desert.
Yeah, yeah. Well, allow me, because I'm excited for today's episode because like we have our first guest. And we
you haven't had a guest?
No.
Right.
Yeah, you are literally our first guest. So I'm like, not only do we have our first guest, but we have a powerhouse of a
Can
first
you
guest.
insert applause right there?
I could.
Yeah.
That's too far though. I'll you know what? I'll do it in the edit.
Okay, perfect.
I'm gonna be listening for it. But Kirk Scott, our first guest. Allow me to introduce Kirk to our listeners, which I'm sure a lot of them will know who that is. But Kirk Scott is the co-head of schools at Desert Christian Academy, where I have been a teacher now for, this is my 3rd year, technically. Third year. Yeah, 3rd year. Well, if you include the first year of flex with AV, so technically 4.
Yeah.
So I think it's 4 years. Yeah. So Kirk has been a few things in my life personally, and I know has been a few things in your life, Dave, as well. But for me personally, Kirk has been boss, mentor, big brother, father figure, the whole 9. Like, just especially in this last year, Kirk has definitely taken a really big role in my life, which I've been super appreciative of. He's part of what I call my council of 4. So I have Kirk Scott, Tom Fulton, Joe Gutierrez, and then my mom. So I always laugh at
All
how
future guests.
yeah, I'm hoping so. But what's funny is because like my mom is the one who called it out because she was like, "Oh, you made yourself a little family." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You got Kirk the dad, me the mom, and you have 2 brothers with Tom and Joe." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I sure did. I didn't even."
Wait, does that mean Mom's going to come on the show or what?
If Mom comes on the show, I'm gonna have to filter a lot. Like I'm just gonna have to have the thing right here with the beep button. No, I'm just kidding. My mom's gonna get so mad. Everyone's gonna think I'm cussing. I'm like, no, I'm just playing. Mom doesn't cuss. She would be a fun guest, but she, like you, will go off on rabbit trails, bro. Yeah, like we
can follow.
Yeah, like you don't come in with like an agenda with her. you talk, and then whatever happens, kind of happens. But anyway, let's get back to it.
Yep.
Kirk Scott, head of schools here at our one of 3, 4. Is it 4 private Christian schools?
3 that I'm aware of.
3, right? Xavier, King School, Desert Christian Academy, but our saviors, not our saviors. There's another one over in Palm Springs.
Well, Kings.
There's Kings, but there's another one.
Desert Chapel.
Desert Chapel.
So I mean, on the Protestant side.
On the
Yes.
There you go. That's what it is on the Protestant side of it. Yeah. So one of 4 private Christian schools here in the Valley. Your co-head of schools, because it's not just you; it's also your wife.
Me and my wife.
Yep. The better half.
100%.
Shout out to Debbie Scott. We love you so much,
Yes,
Mama
she
Debbie.
would never be caught dead on this camera. I do the camera stuff.
Yeah.
Even though she's way better looking.
But one heck of an administrator, though.
Oh gosh, she can run anything.
I love working. Like I got to do last year. I got to do some interviews for their auction gala.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
working with Debbie at like technically being like my first client. No, as my first client, I'm like, this is the best experience because it's so organized and like just I get precise notes.
Dictated.
I know exact. No.
This is
Debbie, Kirk said it, not me. I didn't say. I'm trying to compliment you right now, Debbie.
She knows. She knows.
But like it was like detailed notes. Like I didn't like it was like no work was involved just because she laid it out clear. And I was just like, oh, literally just
Yeah. And you being a 2, you're like, oh, okay, what do you need?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard to find creative people that will take that much direction. So she so appreciates anybody like you that's just like whatever, like because she'll have the detailed notes and you just do it.
Yep.
That's hard to find in the creative field.
See, but that's how I like to work. Like that's like because I'm just such a dunce. Like I'm so thick-headed. Where if I have to be creative, I can be. Like I can get that. But it like it's weird because it's like starting a fire. It takes time for me to get to that place of just being able to. So when I have just clear notes of what you want, and I think it looks aesthetically good too, because like she has a great aesthetic eye too, so she knows what looks good. So it's just so easy to go, oh, done deal.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah, that was so much fun. But I thought it would be kind of cool, Kirk, with this one, before we start jumping into some like more, I guess, like cultural questions, with having a private Christian school. And I would say, would you consider Palm Springs a more, not to make it political, but just from a demographic standpoint, would this be a more liberal, like the Valley be lean more liberal, a little bit more conservative?
I mean,
or is it a balance, you think?
I don't know what David thinks, but we have pockets here.
Yeah.
Riverside County, because I learned this through COVID, like if I wanted to or not. Riverside County is conservative, leans conservative from a county standpoint. But then you got the Valley, you got Indian Wells, uber conservative.
Right.
And then you got Palm Springs, uber liberal. And then we all kind of fit somewhere.
Yeah.
And then you have, where you guys spend a lot of time out in the federal empowerment zones in Mecca and Thermal that are, it's just, it's.
I think some people don't realize how big the Coachella Valley is, but there's so many cities within this place. So you're like, Coachella Valley, well, that's huge.
Well, it's like when you're from LA, like you could be like from like Watts or Compton. You're not going to say, well, I'm from Watts or Compton. I'm from LA. It's easier to understand it. So like when people ask me, where are you from? I tell them, oh, I'm from Palm Springs. And they're like, oh, okay. Yeah. But then, like, if you have someone that's from the Valley, you'd be telling them from Palm Springs. So, but, like, what part? You're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm from Rancho Mirage. I'm from Cat City or whatever. But
I definitely agree. There's just pockets of each
everything.
One.
It's a little bit of everything here.
It's a melting pot.
And so, like, it's an interesting place, I think, one, for, like, churches to exist. Like, it's a really interesting place for churches to exist. I think it's even more interesting for Christian schools to exist. I think it's really cool. So my personal journey within private Christian education is I started at King's. That's where my boys, they actually did preschool there. And then Samuel started kindergarten actually at DCA. And we actually heard, the first time we heard of Desert Christian Academy was actually when I was church planning with Josh Best. And he brought me, I think it was when you guys were doing the youth program, or you either starting it or you were trying to restart it. I forget what the context was, but you had a youth program that you were doing here in the Valley. I don't think it was connected to DC. I think it was just your own ministry thing that you were doing out here. Remind me of the name again.
Identity.
That's right. And so that was the first time I actually connected with you. I first met you, and then Josh Best started sending his kids to Desert Christian Academy. I was like a super poor pastor, so like that wasn't in the you know what I mean?
I'm still a super poor pastor.
Yeah, nothing's really changed.
We take care of our super poor.
Yes, absolutely. And so like it just wasn't a thing, and he was just like, bro, you really need to consider taking your kids over to Desert Christian Academy. And we were just like, I don't know how we're going to make it work. Made it work. And it was the best decision we could have ever made. I didn't go too much into this in episode 4 when I told, kind of like, the story of everything that happened with me with the last 2 years with Sarah and everything. But, and I failed to mention this, so it's a good opportunity now that Kirk is here. Like DCA. So I want to be careful how I say this. Like, I went to church here in the Valley. Obviously, took like a youth pastoring position, but I never really had like a church family. Like that was never. I didn't. There were like after I left the church plant that I did, I never really had like it felt like I never had a church tight knit community again. And it wasn't until like I started working at DCA that I realized I was like, oh, this is my church family. You know, granted, it's not in the four walls of a church building, but nevertheless, this is like my church family. And DCA, and like I want to control my emotions right now, but Kirk, like DCA for my kids and for me included, but I mean especially for my kids in a season where those kids should have just been barely surviving. Like in a season where they should have been at their absolute worst. Like I did not, you know, because Sarah passed away literally just a few days before school started. And I just had this, I didn't have expectations for a good year for them. I just figured it's going to be a lot of F's, a lot of unsatisfactory when it came to, you know, social stuff like that. I just figured it's going to, and who cares? Like if that's their year, like they get it. They get a free year, right? DCA stepped in such an amazing way. I'm talking not just their teachers, like the admin team. I think of like Chris Johnson. I think of yourself, Beth Young, Tyler Jacobus, even like Matt. I mean, just literally the admin team, the teachers surrounded my kids when they stepped foot on that campus. And in a season again where they should have been surviving, my kids were thriving. Like they had such an incredible year. Their grades, when parent teacher conference came around that year, I was ready to hear it. Like I had prepared my heart. I prepared mentally. Like the night before, I was like, I'm going to get beat up as a parent right now. So like, tell me all my kids are failing. Both of their teachers, they're doing great. I was like, okay, like you don't got to fudge it for them. Like, no, they're like, no, like I'm telling you, Alex, of course they have their moments and we're there to love them and nurture them, all those things. But like, they're doing amazing. So like, you know, DCA is such an amazing, special place. Granted, I'm biased, but that's okay because I've experienced it. It's such a cool it's a cool place to work. I'm someone that's very like family dynamic, and so like if my workplace can feel like a family, I'm all in. I'm sold. Like I love that. It's a place of spiritual. It's a spiritual fountain. Like it can, you know, as a teacher, of course, like if you're like, of course, with anything, like there can be a draining, but if you allow it to be, I notice like teachers that are the most successful at DCA, it's when they take on that family dynamic and that place becomes literally just a fountain of water for like, and it's refreshing to go there. It's refreshing to be there. It's refreshing to be around your peers. It's refreshing to be around the students. There's so much pour in from the leadership, like Kirk, you know, your wife, Debbie, you know, just the whole admin team. There's so much pour in from you guys into the teachers. It's not just set the teachers and let them go. It's like, no, there's pour in. Right. You're actually checking up on us, not just even from a work standpoint, like, but just spiritually, like, how are you doing? Let me pray for you today. Like, it's such an incredible place. And then when you bring in like the student aspect, again, just seeing the growth, being a teacher, being able to see the growth there, that because of the culture that's fostered at DCA. With my own kids, it will forever be like the greatest witness for me about how amazing DCA is just my kids' year last year. And a special shout out to Kelsey Martinez and Joan Van Zeus, like who were my kids' teachers last year. Like stepped up in an amazing way, just phenomenal. Yeah, like it's crazy because Kelsey to this day will still be like, "Hey, let the boys come over." Like she takes them. Like, man, you see them 5 days a week. You still want to see them on the weekend? She's like, "No, I'm taking them for the weekend." I was just amazing, right? Just an amazing place. But all that to say, Kirk, as I'm kind of talking up DCA. Because you married into Desert Christian Academy. And so maybe kind of starting there and like you're kind of stepping into DCA, kind of maybe summarizing how you started off as being, you know, a pastor to a teacher to going from a teacher to taking that step into administration and then going from administration to now you're the co-head of schools at Desert Christian Academy. So.
Yeah, my story's probably not the typical one, but I started public school. That was my...
Oh, okay. I see. I didn't know that.
And then I youth pastored like on Sunday.
Yeah.
But I was a teacher at Amistad right here, and really felt like, for those that don't know, it's a local continuation school, at-risk youth, that whole thing. I was special education, so which at Amistad, that just means that your whole class is just gang members. That's
Right.
That's what because that's kind of what special education can be in that kind of setting. Just kids that nobody else wants to deal with.
Right.
So I did that for 3 years. Really felt like that was my niche. That was my calling. When I became a Christian, the Lord just started putting me in, particularly like Hispanic cultures and with at-risk kids. So I was like, all right, Lord, this is kind of what my thing that you've chosen for me. That's what it's going to be. So I did it for 3 years, and the whole time I tell my wife and her parents, like, I'm not doing the family business.
Right.
I'm not doing just because Deb started working there right when we got married, and so I was like, hey, one's enough.
Quickly to insert, so for people who don't know, Kirk's wife, Debbie Scott, it's her parents, Dave and Debbie Fulton, who actually, or Julie, excuse me, Julie Fulton, actually founded the school in, was it the
77?
77. There you go.
So the school was founded, and my wife was born in the same year. So I call the school her twin sister.
Yeah.
How old were you, Alex, in 77?
I wasn't even a thought in my parents' brain. My parents were still in school. They were probably in their senior year of high school.
Dang. But very, very long story short, after it was the Christmas break of my 3rd year at Amistad, the Lord just started putting a different calling on my life. And I started to see pretty clearly, pretty quickly. Here's my thing. I'm an educator, so I'm in favor of all schools.
Right.
I'm a public school fan. I'm a private school. My thing in the Coachella Valley is we don't have enough education. So, and that the schools that we have need to be functioning at the highest possible level they can. So I'm a fan of all education in the Coachella Valley. I'm not a private school guy or, whatever. It's just, obviously the Lord's called me to lead a private Christian school, but the Coachella Valley needs education to thrive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the story, wherever it comes from. So I've never been that guy, but I saw pretty clearly, pretty quickly the way the system, because in public school there are amazing individual educators and leaders.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of them. A lot of them send their kids to my school, and they're just incredible, salt of the earth people. But the system I saw pretty quickly is how set up for failure that the system is.
Yeah.
And so the Lord started giving me a vision of really Christian education. We don't have that. We can literally just, Lord, what do you want us to do? And we can go do it.
Yep.
So that really was what the Lord used to be like, hey, I can have even greater impact because I'm not working against something.
Yeah. I'm not tied to a system.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's kind of how I was done. So I finally broached the topic with Deb's dad. I was like, hey, I think, I'm ready to come over because they've been recruiting me and stuff. And so that was 20 years ago.
Wow.
And so there I started as a teacher administrator. I was the dean of students is what we called it, where I did discipline. I did all the social ASB, all the student activities, but then I also taught classes, and then did that for a couple of years. Our chaplain died, who was the guy who married my wife and I, Bob Gadini, that Jim's named after him. Like my best friend, my mentor, he passed away suddenly, and we had this void at chaplain. And so the Lord put a call on my life to just do the chaplain thing. So
I forgot about that. Yeah, for a while.
I did that for 12 years, and then we had a.
That is right. Yeah, I'm like you right now, Dave. I'm just like, that's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah. Okay.
Because that's how we started getting tied in during that time as well.
Yes. No.
So what would you say Christian schooling is, or a Christian education? What is that?
I mean, there's a lot of ways to approach. I mean, in its simplest, it's education that is built on the foundation of the Word of God, the truth of God. Really, I've got Psalm 1, and this is kind of the scripture I always go to when I think about Christian education. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. And that sits nor sits in the seat of scoffers. And I'm like, that's any educational system that doesn't give due respect and honor and glory to the creator sustainer of the whole thing. That's a scoffer, right?
Right.
And the Bible is very clear that blessed is the child, the man, the person who does not sit in that seat. So that's really what Christian education is. It's allowing students to be educated in the seat of the law of the Lord.
I love that.
Which, according to our worldview, is like, that's not something additional. That's essential.
Yeah.
That's essential because we believe God created. We believe he's the sustainer. We believe he's the ultimate authority. We believe there is no truth that exists apart from him. But yet, that's obviously, the biggest challenge when it comes to education, secular education, whatever you want to call it, is you're being educated apart from that truth. So are you learning any truth? I mean, you can go like deep philosophical like that, but that's when, for me, Christian education, it's allowing our children to sit in seats where the delight is in the truth of the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Not like this religious truth, but that's, I mean, if our worldview is correct, like God's in all of it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So if we take him out of it in our education, what are we actually learning? So yeah.
So have you seen a lot of difference between you working at Amistad in the normal educational to where you're at in the private school?
Well, that's been my challenge. That's why the Lord, I think, has been grooming me personally, and he keeps giving me a greater influence over the school, because largely I'd say no. That's a big problem with the Christian school movement. Is it looks exactly, it feels exactly, the schedules are exactly the same as the school down the street, the school that doesn't honor the Lord. It feels the same, and it mimics a lot of the same structures, and that's always bothered me. And then so the Lord's just, as he's been kind of giving me vision and stuff, he's been slowly like moving me in positions where I can actually do something about it.
Right.
So I'm really excited about the future of DCA and what that can maybe mean for the future of Christian education. Because my belief is Christian schools should look, feel, act, be scheduled. It should be like walking into a different world than a school that doesn't.
Yep.
And I'm not going to use the word public school because, like I said, I'm not here to dog just any other educational system that doesn't honor properly God in his role of creator and sustainer.
Yep.
So we're in the process of, building when I say building inside, not just facilities, but curriculum, everything.
Yeah.
Just, and Alex, you've been in on some of those, meetings, conversations, and kind of you have a little bit of more context of where we're headed.
Yep.
But it's not going to look the same at all.
Yeah.
Well, it's been really exciting. We have friends that are teachers in public school who are Christians, and just to see their education, like you said, like I love them. We've gone to school at those places. But for us and my family, we chose DCA, which we love DCA in abundance. And it wasn't just you guys coming up and just saying, hey, come to our school, come to our school. It was meeting everybody and seeing them. And Alex hit it on the head that it became a community. And when I think of church, I think of it just like your school. Your school is one of the largest churches in the Valley, because each one of your teachers are pastors. They're pouring into them. And it's not just the education. They're wanting to walk life with them. We have my oldest son who was struggling, making some friends, talking, getting out of his shell, just stuck to himself. But at DCA, the teachers were coming up and like talking with him. Hey, how's it going? What's going on at home? How is this? And just really just loving on this kid back to life, and just to see his attitude and just him change and just him flourish in that. Then you have our other one he's a rambunctious, full of energy dude. When Mr. Johnson goes, "Hey, your son's the mayor," because he wants to say hi to everybody in there. And I mean, at regular, he's only gone to DCA, but I know that at regular school, they want him to fit in that perfect peg hole. And at DCA, you guys are allowing these kids and understanding that each child looks different.
Bro, there are personalities on that campus.
Right?
It's just I'm talking straight characters,
But
bro.
man, the love that comes out of these teachers for these kids, and to hear them come alongside and to hear them cheering on my daughter. She was in public school. She comes here, and when she was tested, they said, "Hey, she's got a reading problem. I think she might be dyslexic." And the teacher walked us through everything through that. And she was crying. The teacher cried with us when she saw our daughter succeed. So that there's so much love. It's a completely, I think that part's completely different than our public schools, which I wish it was. Allowing the parents to be able to come on campus, to talk with their kids, to be a part in the learning. Because again, when they come home, we're with them the rest of that time. So we need to be that. And DCA has allowed that. But I'm wondering, what all are you hearing from some of the parents that are coming from public schools inside? Because I know it's not just Christians that are coming to the school. You have all different people coming through because of what you guys are teaching and how it all works. So what are some of the stuff that you're hearing from parents when they come back?
Well, it's a mixed bag, because everybody's got their own background, they got their own story. But it's, I hear a lot of that. I was just in a meeting before I came over here with a couple parents, and like this one parent was talking about how her daughter is changing the language of their household, because they weren't necessarily like super religious or things, but they came to DCA. Like here's our new marketing slogan: "We're not crazy." Like that's that's literally like all people will call us and be like, "Hey, are you guys nuts?" And we're like, "No, we're not nuts." Okay, well, when can we tour? It's getting. The state of California is the gift that keeps giving. What kind of started, what COVID shined a light on, is just continuing now in all these other areas. So yeah, we're getting a lot of families that are just like, because Americans, we love like biblical values. We just don't want the obligation of walking with Christ. Like
We love biblical values, just don't call it biblical.
yeah, we love like what that all is, and so really people are flocking to Christian education like never before, and God's obviously got His hand in all of it. So it's just cool hearing that story today with just like this daughter, young elementary, is teaching her parents the language of grace and the language of just that she's getting in like first grade.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, now as a family, we talk like that. We use that language.
Yeah.
And it's just sweet, Jesus filled, like all because, a first grader has the guts to say, no, mommy, no, daddy. What I'm learning in school is this is how we talk about that. And it's like, oh, even as us adults, we're like, okay, yeah, that's probably a better way to do this, or to talk about this, and so that I hear that story a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hear the community family a lot.
Yeah.
That's because really, it's thing about the gospel. It's not like, I don't know. We modern people, we love to fund programs, and we love to fund systems, and something as basic as relationship is like, oh yeah, that's nice, but it's not going to attract like big donors. It's like, yeah, here, give to teachers that know how to build relationships with their students, because that's really what you were talking about, and that's what That's what I see, because we have with our students an inclusive model to where, like public school, it's a separate model. It's if you have this issue, you go into this program. If you have this issue, you go into this. So everybody's segregated, everybody's separate. We don't have a choice. We don't have the resources to do all these side programs. So our teachers are like, hey, guess what? In your classroom this year, you're going to have, and I was just talking to Kelsey Martinez this morning about, that the challenges on her because she has this type of need, this behavioral need, this learning need.
Yeah, she was telling me at the beginning of this year, she was like going through the list of some of her students. I was just like, whoo, Mama Bear, you gotta.
and she's up for it.
Yeah,
she's there.
She's
for
a gangster.
And
that's exciting.
And that's like, how do you put like a tuition amount on that? How do you put how do you put a value on? How do I advertise that? Because I don't know, we're so attracted to like, oh, we have this dyslexic program, and it's like, but that's a child that just needs a relationship with a teacher, and a teacher that's willing. But if your system is segregated, then the teachers in there, they get accustomed to that, and they're like, oh, hey, I can't be in relationship with you because you're this type of learner. It's not like they have bad hearts or whatever. It's just, that's what I get when I talk about the system. It's like, here at DCA, you've got no choice. Our teachers know they're going to get the whole gamut.
Yeah.
And ready or not, and if they're not up for it, they don't stay at the school very long. But by God's grace, He's brought us just these amazing, amazing teachers. And I've said this year in and year out since the Lord kind of put me into administration. We have, and of course I'm biased, but I think it's true, we have the best educators in the Coachella Valley. We just do.
Absolutely.
They may not have specific, plaques on their wall or whatever, but I know what my teachers are willing to do, and I know what other systems teachers aren't willing to do.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'll ride with you guys any day. So
I can speak to a few of these things because I've gotten this. This is the cool thing about like being at DCA is I get to sit in the boat of both like teacher and parent. I could say from the teacher side of things, being a part of DCA over the last 2 years, especially like year one as Bible teacher, year two is when I was teaching Bible, were so exciting because this was right on the cusp of like COVID happening, like, and everything. Like it was a wild like time. And what made it exciting though was just the innovation, and like that's kind of like what how you were talking about is just far as like how God just seems to be giving you a little bit more influence every year just to take it like a step further. Where else can we go with Christian education, especially like with DCA pioneering a few of these things? Like I just, even like through COVID, which was kind of like I remember it was wild, like sitting in a one of our staff meetings, and you were like, hey, so we're gonna go all in, and we're gonna open, and we're gonna do the thing. And like there was so like I remember the room, like there was so much like tension because it was just like whew, like buckle up, we're doing this thing. And we came out and did the thing, bro. Like just, it was to be a part of this DCA staff. That was such an honor and such a crazy year. So much like took place, like, and being there, I got to see the influx of a lot of students from public education, and because schools were just shut down, parents were like, and I think like a lot of people were thinking like, oh, parents needed to, have to go to work. And it wasn't that. It was watching your kids like emotionally fall apart as they're just sitting on their tablets for, 8+ hours a day with zero community, zero, social interaction. It's just like, my kid needs to be in school. Like not even just because they're driving me crazy, but just they themselves are going crazy, not doing anything. And so, man, I remember that it was after first quarter because we were doing kind of like a hybrid program, and then second quarter we went all in. And man, just see, like, granted, all you saw was the, this, but to see just the light in these students' eyes was just so wild. Yeah. And then what was cool is I had a cool compare and contrast kind of perspective because Sarah, my wife, she was teaching one of the local public high schools, and so I got to watch from both angles, and just seeing what DCA, and just even going as far as to not, and I want to say this carefully because DCA is in no means, like you said it already, is in no means in competition with public school. That's not the idea. But it was interesting just hearing as she was like in staff meetings and as she was in like in board meetings and whatnot, and to hear like some of the folks in the higher up when it comes to the public school system, like actually saying like we are competing against private schools right now, because it was like parents were just wholesale like just pulling their kids out and like, hey, DCA, like, I mean, there was like I don't even know how long that waiting list was that particular year, but I just remember it was just like it seemed like every month there was just like five new more students like that you just had in class, and it was so fun. It was so like I said, that it was just such an innovative thing because it was just totally against the grain, and you know, there was obviously some pushback, and I remember even that, but just I think what was so cool is like the stance that DCA took was just such a beautiful one, and like you could totally tell just God was behind it, and it just, we did the thing. It was so cool to be a part of, and that's what's cool even watching now, Kirk, is watching just like the innovation that's taking place like on the DCA campus, just with the vision of where it's going, and even down to like kind of like the flex classes that we were talking about on our last conversation, just like even like just how that changed, like even how that looks now, where it's so cool to be a part of. And then from a parenting aspect of it, like watching, it's the community. It's watching even just the parent buy-in. Like the volunteers are crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like cause you go to like a public school, they did hardly any parent volunteers. Like,
or if you're even allowed to volunteer,
or even if you're allowed to volunteer, right?
Step on campus.
But like just to see like parents in there, like I got like, you know, I have sons, there's like 2 parents per classroom that are like helping the teachers out. I'm getting an email now from the parent
right now, huh?
And it's just like, I'm like, this is so cool because there's just so much parent buy-in, like and there's this cool camaraderie when you step on as a parent. It's just like, oh yeah, we're like a part of this big DCA family, and there's so much support there. You know, just meeting other parents over the last year and whatnot.
Well, you talked about something really quick that I'm hoping Scott can talk about it as well. But you said during COVID, right, that there was a huge change or just how it all came together.
Yeah.
At our public school, though, we had maybe like a week to 2 weeks before we even started back to school. And everybody was prepared for COVID, right? I'm like, yeah, no, we weren't. We weren't prepared. But DCA, dude, they got on there so fast. My kid was already taking class, like 3 days, something crazy.
Correct me if I'm wrong, a weekend.
So
took a Friday off, literally canceled school on a Friday. School was closed on I think it was on Wednesday or a Thursday.
So it was Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
We took off March 13th, just because we're hearing all this stuff, like
the world's
closures. Yep.
So we're like, well, if they're gonna not let kids on campus, we need to get ready. So we did a full day staff in service, just kind of like, hey, this is called Zoom, and you know they're doing all that stuff. And literally, it was like 3:30 that afternoon as we were wrapping up our meeting that Newsom made the proclamation, whatever it was, that students weren't allowed to be on campus starting Monday, and our kids were live instructed, via Zoom. It wasn't ideal, but our kids had a full day from 8 to 3 that Monday.
My other kid was sitting there twiddling his thumbs, trying to play video games for 2 weeks.
That means the entire staff grinded.
All weekend.
Grinded over the weekend to get class. I remember I was so impressed by it. Like I was just like, there's no way. Like these kids are gonna be the school year's done. Nope. Next Monday, we're gonna take Friday off, everything in house, and like they went online. They just took DC online on a weekend, bro.
Yep.
No, I mean, our teachers are amazing.
It's a private school, so obviously there's tons of funds, right, to have a huge IT department.
Yeah, no.
So who put it together, right?
And we'll see that, and that brings up another. That brings up another point too, because like even as I said in the beginning, like when Josh Best had recommended DCA, I was just like, oh, I can't do private. That's like there's kind of like this air that private school is, because there are some I'm sure that are just super prestigious and elite private schools. DCA can be the furthest thing from that.
They're pretty elite to me. Okay,
which
we're gonna have to put one of those little disclaimers.
I know, right? But like, I mean, just the scholarships that you offer, like you really do work with the parents, because it's the student that's important to DCA, like, and not just even the student, it's the family. That again, like. That I think Chris Johnson always hits it on the head, right? It's like we're not just in the student, but it's like it's the family. Like we're ministering to the whole family, right?
Oh, we got interviewed when our kids came in and did the testing. We got interviewed for it. Is this good for you guys? This is what we're going to be doing. And I'm like, man, I love that. I love that a lot. So did you see, again, I know I was joking about the huge staff for IT and stuff because it's just you guys, and this was all learning and coming through. But, okay, so right now, my kids are going to be like, Dad, you're going to tell people this, but my kids only get 10:30, 2:30, and 6:30 game time. 30 minutes at a time is what they're supposed to be doing, unless they've earned it, okay?
That's great.
So a lot of families, their friends are going to be like, what? They're really strict. But during COVID, now computers and all this stuff is already on a huge rise, trying to get kids off their phones, their games, things like that. So now 8 hours on Zoom, they get off, get on another tablet or another show. They are now completely disconnected.
Yep.
I mean, my kids, even myself, like I was more connected with everybody around the world, but not what was around me, I guess, in certain ways too. But so when you saw these kids come back, you already knew there's going to be some problems, like trying to get people to start connecting one-on-one. So what did you guys do? I know what you guys did, but what did you guys do to bring these connections back and to have peers talking with people, having communication, and what are you doing to try to help some of these kids because they're still stuck in that same boat?
Well, and you can correct me if, like, for what you saw from the parent standpoint, but honestly, from like all this talk about mental health and these, and I was like, this is going to sound bad, but Christian education, we've been experts in this since day one. So like I said, just relationship. It's like a community relationship. So everybody's like, well, what do you do? You get all these emails. What's your school's plan for kids coming back after COVID? And it's like, we're just going to do what we always done, where our teachers are going to love on our kids, and there's going to be constant dialogue. There's going to be, we have a conquering culture value that no student walks alone. These are just things that have been in the DNA. So I felt like we
were already doing it.
Well, I felt underprepared in some regard because I didn't have, some special program of, mental health and this and that. And the kids had to reacclimate. They had to learn how to be in an in-person environment again, especially those that had been in a different system where they weren't allowed to be in person. But our kids that were with us throughout the whole time, there's literally no issue. But so it was just the only struggle was the kids that have been out for so long, reacclimating them into a culture that never really missed a beat. So that was the only challenging part for our teachers, is like, well, I got these kids that are just rocking and rolling, ready to rip. And then I got these kids that are like, what's going on here? I don't even know how to sit anymore. I don't know how to sit still, that kind of stuff. And so that was a problem that we talked about, put, different ideas and solutions to just as a staff. Yeah. But again, it's like, the gospel is relationship.
Absolutely.
And our staff knows that if you're not desiring to have a authentic relationship with your student, you're not going to last long. You're just not. And that's we don't have to say that. It's just it's felt within the first couple weeks on campus.
Yep. I think yeah, I've had conversations like especially like my second year that I was there. Some new teachers and so I think there was one teacher, Mr. C, shout out to Mr. C. Amazing dude. Mr. C came up to me and was like, "Hey, like, just asking advice." I'm like, "Bro, you don't ask me for advice. I've only been here a year." But it was just like, "What do you think?" And I was just like, "Honestly, bro," he's like, "This is how I see it. Like, this is a family. And if you can learn to be a part of the family and develop in the family, like you're gonna be here for a minute. Like you'll be here for a minute. If you can't acclimate to being a part of a family, to like pouring in and to allowing to be poured into, like it's gonna be a rough one. But if you can, just that relationship dynamic. If you can come here and build relationships and be in relationship with not just your students but with each other as a staff, like, man, it's a place to be. I haven't worked, like, honestly, I haven't worked anywhere quite like DCA. It is so unique in and of itself. Like, just the relationship aspect. And that's why I think from a teaching perspective, I was so nervous when I got the phone call from you to step on as a Bible teacher, because anybody that knows me knows for a fact, like, I'm the worst student in the world. I hate homework. I hate I never told my high school teacher, because I caught up with him. He was my favorite teacher. His name was Mr. Titherley. I think I told you a little bit about this. Yeah. So Mr. Titherley found out I was a teacher, and he goes, "You're a teacher?" I was like, "Yeah, it's wild, right?" It's such a unique place to be. And the relationships with the students, I mean, just like, it's so funny watching just the teacher relationships with the students, because they're so unique in of themselves, and like seeing what students like latch to what teacher, and like just the different pockets of relationships that are there. And then what's really cool is to see, like, sometimes you'll get the cross interaction between secondary and elementary, and like you'll kind of get to see those crossovers, and just like, it's one big family. It's just this huge, massive family. We get to go be family for 8 hours a day on campus.
And I think, one of the things that I loved coming back from COVID to the school was you guys did cohorts, like these little tiny small groups. And I think that was like, not forcing them, but showing them, hey, here's your group. You can talk with them, building that up. And then you did the other ones, which were is it cohorts as well? The classes? What is the atramos, blah, blah, blah?
Oh, the houses.
The houses. Man, I think that pushed them together. That gets them something to have like camaraderie over and just come together. So,
and to quickly explain the houses, think Harry Potter, Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Slytherin. I don't know the other one.
When they play Quidditch out there, I'm just joking.
When they're flying on
our broom. At DCA.
So when they call an ass, "Are you guys crazy?" A little bit. We
do have witchcraft. We do have witchcraft. Just a little bit. Just to get the brooms off the ground.
Expelliarmus.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if you're biased with this or not, but just kind of your idea as far as like school choice. So like it's kind of like a big thing right now, right? That's been in the talks for the last, like, I feel like last 2-3 years, is this idea of school choice, And again, it's not a competing of public education with private school education, but just like kind of like your ideas on like how that works, because like I'm just sitting over here, I'm just sitting over here going like, man, this would be such a valuable thing to have, to go like, oh man, it'd be cool if, like, because my kids aren't in public school, like to get whatever funds that they would get from public education and to point that towards, a Christian education, because that's my choice. There's certain things culturally within public school that I'm just not ready to introduce my kids to. And so I want again, a Christian culture that my kids can grow up in and thrive in and whatnot. But just kind of your idea of like, how does that look? How does that play from the administrative standpoint? So
I look at it through two lenses. One, as a citizen, I believe, a society, a nation that puts as much power and autonomy and resources in the hands of parents
Okay.
is a society that works best. So I understand 100% as on the citizen level, and I'm on board with the school choice pushes where it's just like, well, it's our money anyways. We're the ones paying the taxes.
right.
So why not give us, autonomy and control and how that's spended for my own kid, So I think that's probably the best idea for society. As a school administrator, I actually had this conversation with a school choice activist that was, trying to recruit our campus to be a part of the campaign, because there was in the last election, there was a school choice initiative that was trying to make it to the ballot. They ended up not getting the signatures or whatever. And so they wanted me to hold a rally and stuff like that. And, so that's now where I'm no longer talking about this as a citizen. I'm talking about this as a school administrator.
Right.
And that's where I'll just say, for me and DCA, we want to be self-sustaining.
Yeah.
That's our hope. That's our prayer. That's our goal. Now, currently, that's through tuition, which we don't want tuition to be our funding model forever, because that does present a barrier for all socioeconomic groups to access Christian education, which is in violation of our principles of our, we believe DCA, like there are other, we were the first, so we believe that we are the Christian school for Coachella Valley. So we take that with as a burden that we have to make sure that then Christian education is available for every socioeconomic group within that resides in the valley. So that's something long term we're going to keep working on. So a tuition based model obviously, presents real challenges in that regard. So Lord willing, in the future, we'll be less reliant on tuition, and we'll be more accessible to the lower income families in the valley. So, but I also know this, and this is what we've seen literally in the past 4 years: what government gives, government also takes away. So I was trying to get this school choice activist to understand for me,
because as of right now, I mean, because you don't receive anything federally, you therefore are not tied to any necessarily federal regulations.
Yeah, and so
in terms of as far as the faith aspect that we practice and some of the principles that we hold to.
Well, that too, but I'm just saying also practically budgeting, I can base a budget on something that I know is going to be there.
Okay.
Now, I was like, I'm nervous. Let's say California does do a school choice thing, which that would be an act of God. But let's say it does. It is growing steam or whatever. You're just one legislature, one governor away of that law being overturned or changed, or you're one Supreme Court decision away. So then you've built you've based your entire budget on an income stream that can evaporate like that. That freaks me out.
Yeah.
Because that means I may have hundreds and hundreds of families counting on me for their children, and then I have to call them and be like, hey, the government just decided, a new sheriff's in town and decided that this isn't it anymore. And so I'm, as a school administrator, I'm not as excited about school choice. Just because I don't trust it. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't trust it. I don't trust government has proven, that you can't count on it.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep moving forward. We're going to keep building a model that's sustainable, that we can count on through time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%. 100%. I have another question for you, because again, when I think of support, obviously how can parents best support DCA? Well, we pay tuition to help support DCA and to keep, everything going. But I think what's kind of unique about a private Christian school is that being in a valley where there are many churches and there's many pastors' kids who attend DCA, it kind of got me thinking as I was actually on the drive in this morning. I was going like, okay, like what could churches, like local churches, do to best support DCA? And maybe even beyond that, like what could local churches do to support their private Christian schools? Like what is like probably the most effective thing that a church body could do for a private Christian school?
I mean, that's a question we wrestle with often, because we view ourselves as a resource to the local. Obviously, we're part of the local church, Big C Church,
Right.
but we also view ourselves as a real resource to the local congregations. So we try really hard, first of all, to partner with our churches. I see a clear role for the Christian school that is different than the Christian church.
Yeah.
Together, man, if a family is connected to a Bible-based church on the weekends and they have their kids in a Christian school, the advantages that family would have are just astronomical. And the benefits to the pastor are astronomical.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about the stuff that now they're not having to deal with, within their church culture, and think, because the kids literally are being, discipled in the truth.
Yeah.
Like 8 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so obviously try to paint that vision for pastors. But to answer your question, I think right now the best thing that they could do is help, since we are tuition funded, and like I said, that's hopefully not our financial model forever, but since that is what we are right now, help families within their congregation remove that financial barrier.
That's good.
That's good. That would be the biggest thing that a church could do if they had a heart for Christian education, and specifically they saw it for the need for it for a specific family in their congregation. Like, have that be part of the tithing budget, because again, it's a very powerful discipleship tool.
Absolutely.
Within the church, and that the benefits are going to be, because we take the drama. Like that's what.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I'll handle the drama for you, Pastor. Like that's because I'm dealing with kids. I'm dealing with parents' kids. Like that's drama city. So, and that's what we're built for. This. That's what we do.
Yeah. That could be a podcast of its own. Just the parent stories.
Oh man, you mess with somebody's kid,
it's a wrap.
It's over. But oftentimes pastors, since they're not, they only have Wednesday night and Sunday morning or whatever it is, when that stuff spills over in the church, they're just like, what do we do? What is this? And I'm like, oh, that's just Tuesday. That's like that. And I let us do that, because discipling kids from preschool, and discipling families from preschool and where they're held accountable to biblical standards 8 hours a day, they're little sinners. They're going to break those standards all the time, so
all the time.
Oh, I know.
All the time.
He's got a large family. I've got a large family.
Yeah.
I understand this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a 3-year-old that's occupies at least 5 children in and of himself. Like
my favorite thing to tell parents, because I get this all the time. It just, I laugh every time. I have such a good relationship with my child. They always tell me the truth. I'm just like, man, I have 4 kids, and those every single one of them will lie through their teeth right to my face. So, what's your secret? Yes. What is your? I've been in Christian education for 20 years, and I can't even get my own kids not to be liars. But you figured it out, because your kid will tell. Obviously we know that the kids lying through their teeth to them too, but they're just not willing to. I'm like,
just ask your middle schooler if they put on deodorant this morning and tell me.
Oh, God.
I know.
Brush their teeth.
I know for a fact they didn't, because they were in my class yesterday, and I had to stop class and be like, listen, I love you all to death. You guys stink. And you need deodorant. Girls, you too. You guys need to wear deodorant.
Yeah.
You guys you're not little
lie.
boys and little girls anymore. And they're
They
all
lying
like,
to you.
what was funny was in class, you knew the ones that stunk because their shoulders literally were like, they just got real tight.
Yeah, they're lying. They're lying.
Middle school classroom by 1 PM is just.
Whew.
is-
Oh, it was a
it's rough.
melting pot in that classroom. I was like,
Well, I know that we love and we tell other people to do the same by loving on DCA. They can give financial donations to you guys as well, correct?
Yeah, we're
And
nonprofit.
because I know that we do, because we believe in the education, we believe in Christian education, we believe in what the school's doing, but as well, you guys have a grant to be able to help families that need that kind of education, or they might need that extra help. And we want to be able to help those families out as well. So other people can do the exact same. Churches can do the exact same, like you said, put families through, or even say, hey, we want to help send kids to school, or we want to help lower tuition. So churches that are listening, or people that are a part, I want you to understand that this helps out other families in your community to get to know Christ, to love on your community, and do that through Christian education. So we love it a ton. Yeah. And I know the other families do too, because I'm like, hey, I'm going to give this. Next thing you know, hey, we've got, it's amazing to see people stand up to do that, that understands what it's doing for their kids and for other kids. It's beautiful.
yeah, absolutely.
Really
Like
good.
I said, man, I like just being there. I've worked with some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life, bar none. Just some of the, I mean, just stories. I don't think I've ever laughed as hard as I have in life until I got to the DCA campus. Like Kirk will tell you, I have this thing when I laugh, like I look up, like
I was like, what you looking at?
yeah, it looks like I just hotbox my car. I'm just like, just all bad. But it's how I like just
But nothing comes out.
Yeah,
Nothing
it's like a silent.
That's when we know we got Alex.
like mid seizure, like just.
He's hurting.
I know. I get nervous.
He's like, is he having a stroke? Is he okay? Like, no, I'm fine. I'm just laughing. Like, I mean, it's such a yeah, man. And then I think one of the things that brought up, because it's why I ended up at DCA, it's the legacy that DCA is leaving behind. I think that's what's so cool. Again, coming back to I got to do those interviews. There were four individuals for
The alumni.
alumni.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And so there were 4 alumni. Bro, Kirk didn't tell me I was going to be sitting in a room with amazing people. Like, not that you're not amazing, Dave.
I appreciate it.
You know what I'm saying?
I was like, oh man.
When I think amazing, I'm talking like I was talking to a person that's a neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like an emergency neurosurgeon. I talked to another gentleman that he was
So my child can graduate DCA and become a neurosurgeon?
I'm just saying.
Believe it.
Well, check this one out.
Believe it.
Another gentleman that I interviewed. He was the lead. I forget his rank.
Arlington
National Cemetery. He's the one who
He runs all the military
Yeah.
funerals.
Another gal. She was a researcher that's cutting edge stuff on how to cure Alzheimer's.
Stanford. She's a Stanford researcher.
Yep.
Okay, so then I've got a question. Do you know what the percentage is for those graduating to go to college?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that the college prep culture is really changing quickly. But back when that was top value, we were 98% of graduates. Now, I mean, you're seeing there's a shift in where that college degree, that value of the college degree is starting to dip, and maybe rightfully so. You know what I'm saying?
I noticed trades are coming back.
Yeah, that's coming back, and it's just because I don't know what happened. College and universities, I don't know why they thought they needed to quadruple their tuition.
Yeah.
In 5 years, and people noticed, people on budgets, plumbers.
My associates cost $350,000.
Bro, think about the
nuts.
ethics of strapping an 18-year-old with $100,000 worth of debt.
Yeah.
That is wild to me.
But let me tell you, the curriculum or the math stuff, I'm having to look up now. And I did good. I took trig in high school, and now I'm seeing these kids and my middle schoolers coming back with formulas that I'm like, oh my goodness, what is happening? So just graduating, they're going to have so much under them because of this and the community and things like that, which is, it's really cool. Okay, I've got another question.
Yeah.
As I'm thinking about it. How important is it for parents to be a part of education? And how do you guys have that at DCA?
Sure. Now that's
Give him that Chris Johnson answer.
yeah,
Right there,
yeah.
huh?
You know it's coming. You know it's coming. Huge pillar. Parents are the primary educators of their kids.
Yep.
Whether you believe it or not, it's the truth. That's what we educators. If you'll be more effective, the more you understand that that's the way the Lord designed it to work. And the story that I always share is a detention is only meaningful to the level of meaning it has in the home. So a detention at a school can mean like life's over, or it can be something that a kid gets every day. It all matters what the worth is at home. So I was one of the worst kids in high school, but a detention at my home to my mom, that was like the end of the world.
Yep.
So believe it or not, I was the worst kid in the world, but I never got detention because I knew where that line was and I went straight to it, but I wasn't going to go there because I knew my mom was going to kick my butt. But if my mom didn't do that, I didn't care. Like extra 30 minutes at school, like there's no, that's not punitive. That's like, all right, that's just hang out with my friends. And
I'm still scared of my mom and dad. So shout out to moms.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
you. I don't want to be in trouble.
But that's what, when we
I got
say,
the reach on my mom, so I just got to put my palm on her forehead, and I'm usually pretty safe.
Yeah,
she's 4'9". That's why.
Yep. No, I absolutely.
But that's the way it actually works. So that's what I tell parents all the time. Like, you're looking at me like I can suspend a kid, I can do this, I can do, but if that don't mean anything at your house, literally it's a hollow penalty. So because parents are the primary educators of their child.
Right.
They just are.
If a child gets in trouble at the school, let's say they do get a detention, how do you walk the family through that?
Well, that's where we take them to the gospel.
Yeah.
Like, and that's another thing, another misnomer that I love to correct is we get this a lot. I thought this was a Christian school. Like when I say we're built for this, like we expect kids to break the rules. We have, that's the gospel. That's Romans. That's Paul saying, yeah, we have the holy standard of God so that we can know when we haven't reached it.
Yep. That's good.
The purpose past fall isn't to reach the holiest. It's for us to have awareness that ain't me.
Yep.
Who can help me? Jesus. So that's the hardest thing for us when they get detention, like freak out and stuff. We're like, we're not freaking out. Like we give detentions like candy, demerits.
Demerits,
like that's every day. Like we expect it. So that's why we have a system in place. So don't freak. We will tell you if it's getting really bad.
Yeah.
That's what Chris Johnson's always like, oh, you trust me, you'll know if your child's really in jeopardy. Oh, you'll there won't be any guesswork. Right now, this is just every day. This is just your kid being a kid. So don't get like the gospel. We know we have, several hundred sinners running around our campus. And so what are sinners going to do? They're going to bump into each other and they're going to sin. And so it's all that is. So our discipline is an opportunity to show kids their desperate need for Christ. And that's what a Christian education needs to be about.
Absolutely.
It's not about teaching kids how to fake their way to keep the rules. It's about showing them through the rules, oh man, you need Jesus just like I do. And so with Jesus, he's going to carry us. He's going to lift us up, and he's going to, through him, we'll reach these standards. But if we try to do that without him, we're just going to keep demerit after demerit after demerit. But so that's kind of the fine with the parents, is trying to calm them down when they do get a demerit notification. Okay, this is normal. This is typical. Don't freak out. but at the same time, helping them understand, well, it's only going to be meaningful in the classroom if it's meaningful at home. So this is where we are partners, and the parents that like catch that vision. And so, Chris Johnson and myself, we love discipling our parents to help them, like, and it really just takes the weight off their shoulders, be like, oh, I actually have a partner that's working with me, not against me.
And we have, again, we've got multiple kids that are over there. Each one's different. We have one special needs child that's at DCA as well.
Real quick though, before you go there, have any of your kids ended up in Mr. Johnson's office?
Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say.
Are we going to name names?
Yeah, I will.
I will. Elijah.
Yeah. Watson, man, the first week of school.
I love that boy.
That's where I was going to get to. Like, we have a child that went to public school, and we wouldn't hear about any of the things that were happening. But then when we would meet with the teacher, they're like, yeah, he did this, he did this. Yeah. Why didn't you let me know? I would have corrected that at home. Mm-hmm. DCA, first week of school. I'm like, okay, Watson, demerit. Next day, demerit. Next day, demerit. I'm getting all these phone calls from Chris. Hey, Pastor D, you know what? He's just being a kid. Like you said, he's just being a kid. Mm-hmm. He's testing his bounds. He's doing that. But then we were able to walk with him through these problems. Yes. Now, let's fast forward to this year. He made all those mistakes, and he was, it was corrected at school. Then we corrected him at home. Now this year, start of the school year, knock on wood for me, just knock someplace, because so far Watson hasn't had anything.
I've been in Watson's classroom. Yeah. No, he's sitting there and he's chilling. Like, he's doing his thing.
I'm like, who is this? But it's because, they let him know. You guys brought it to our attention. We corrected it at home, and we were like, okay, how are you guys dealing with it at school? Okay, we're dealing with it this way. Oh, that could work here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And sometimes last year we met with the teacher and we're like, have you prayed for him? Oh, yes, we have. Okay, here's what we're praying for at home. And you just see the difference in this, but absolutely. So how do you so now we know parents are a huge part of it. So parents do need to sit down and do homework with these kids, right? Mm-hmm. And be a part of their class, be a part of it. And how important is that as well?
Like it's essential. Like kids' grades, like whatever, it's all determined by the parent.
Yeah.
It just is. There are otherwise there are that like 10% of teachers that win like Disney Teacher of the Year and stuff that they can lift kids out of the depths of, but that's
shout out Miss Moranti.
Yeah, absolutely. And
the entire elementary. Like, let's be real, that entire elementary team.
They exist, but also as an administrator, like that's a very unique gifting. Mm-hmm. Mm. You know what I mean? And we make movies about these people, Ron Clark, and these kind of that. And then these poor teachers are like, I got to be like that every day. And they haven't been gifted in that way. They've been gifted in a different way. You know what I'm saying?
That's so good. Yeah.
And that's where maybe that 10% doesn't need a parent. I would still argue that. But the parents determine. So we really lean into that. Mm-hmm. It can be insecuring for the teacher, to have the parent involved and, kind of checking on their stuff. So, they have to work through, stuff like that, because it needs to be like you experienced partnership. Mm-hmm. You experienced, we at home, we're on the same page as what you're trying to do at school. Yeah. So let's communicate so that I can use the same language you're using at school. And, we can be attacking the same problem. And that's when it gets really beautiful.
Yeah. So parents being on campus, I know at our public schools, we've tried to, and again, nothing against public school, because they've really helped us out when it came to our IEP for our special needs child, and just to see where it's come. And then we've seen the failures of some of it. But okay, now the parents being involved, now them being on campus, Alex says as well, I'm receiving tons of messages from room moms and things like that. So how important is it for families and parents to be on campus as well? And what do you see that brings to the school?
It's essential. And again, there's the business side of it, and then there's the relational, spiritual side. But it's like, these parents make a decision every month with their checkbook, with their budgets. Like we know how that is. It's like, is this essential still? You know, like all of us, when we're looking at our budgets, we're trying to hone into what is absolutely essential. You know what I mean? And so we know there has to be show and tell in that. Like parent has to, they have to see for themselves the magic that happens in the classroom. They have to be there. They have to see the relationship. Like our product is something that we can't really put on a brochure because anybody can make that brochure, you know, and everybody does. And we have our brochures too, you know, and videos and stuff like that. But it's really, you know, Psalms again, taste and see that the Lord is good.
Have you ever gotten to go see a chapel? Okay, like just as you're saying that, that's like the first example that comes to my brain. Like I've been a part of like a few elementary, like I'm specifically elementary chapels. Don't get me wrong, high school, middle school chapels are great, but like I think just some of the like the most evident, like, yo, God is doing something on this campus has been at some of these elementary chapels where just watching the kids worship, bro, tears. You'll be in tears, and it's like, you know, how you're saying, it's like, is this essential? You go sit on in the chapel and go watch your child worship. Like I'm talking uninhibited, no one's looking, I don't care who's around me, like just full blown, a 7-year-old, hands in the air, worshiping Jesus. Like, oh yeah, this is essential. This has got this is,
And going back to the classroom and hearing that the kids were still, you know, breaking for some of these stories that they were hearing. I hear that too. So
100%.
Yeah. So for us, like parent involvement, like it's not it has to happen.
Yep.
You know, it has to happen for us to even keep moving. Obviously it's a value and it has spiritual value, but it also like for us to keep moving forward. We know the hard decision until the Lord funds us a different way. We know, like, I run a budget. You know, me and my wife run a budget. We know how those conversations go, and the parents that do make that decision where they've decided like this is no longer essential, we're going to go to a tax funded school. They're typically the ones that we haven't seen. We haven't seen on campus. You know, so they haven't. That they're viewing us as the exact same as, you know, the tax funded school. You know, and so that's typically how. So we know, like, oh man, we failed in our, you know, making sure that parent was on campus and part of the community and stuff. So it's important.
We'll go through the community, and you know, my kids will see a teacher from the public school, and they're like, oh my gosh, look who it is. It's like a celebrity, right? That's our kids. But right now, what's cool is, again, going back, it's community. We're seeing a family that goes to the school, and my kids have seen that parent inside their class. So immediately they're being loved on by even more people. It is so cool. Kid gets out of the car. The person who's parking, like doing the parking lot stuff, he's giving them a hug. I'm like, how do you know them?
Shout out Matt Morales and Josh Essig.
Yes.
Y'all the men.
And they're like, no, they've come through and they've helped out, and I've seen them during lunch, and they've done this, and that's this person's dad. I'm like, oh man, that is so cool. I wasn't hearing that at other schools. So,
bro, Matt Morales hugs my boys every morning.
Yep.
Every morning we'll come across from the parking lot, hey boys, and just hug them. He's not a staff member. He's just a volunteer. He's one of the dads that volunteers there. And like, it's.
And what's crazy?
Where else can you find that?
Where
like,
else?
Where else can you find that?
Can you find that?
And again, like in the tax funded situation, like they're starting to say the quiet part out loud. It's crazy. Like parents aren't welcome.
Yep.
Like that used to just be.
We know for
maybe,
a fact.
But now it's like policies are being written. So that used to just be kind of on the DL, like, hey, we're the experts, let us do our thing. And now, and again, I think this is a minority takeover of the whole system, because that's not what I feel when I talk to, you know, public school teachers and public school. It's I don't know how it's happened, but it's this minority viewpoint that's kind of taken over the whole thing to where now it's clear, like. Leave us alone. you can't be trusted with your children. Like,
No, seriously,
sad.
beware when you
Wow.
start hearing language like, "Oh, not your children, but our children."
like what?
It's
No.
like time. Like as a dad, like I feel like I'm like from a political standpoint, I'm a very balanced person.
Yeah.
I full blown break halt on that. I'm like, no, sir, there is no such thing as our. Those are my children, my children. Yeah, that's a wild concept to me, man. That just were, yeah. So like again, like that's this unique, innovative thing again that DCA doing, where it's like you heard it from the guy who runs it, right? That parents are the primary educator. We're here to partner with you. We're not here to remove your role, because we understand like your role as the parent. It's so important and how the priority is. So we want to prioritize that, and we just like how you're even saying like we want to disciple you. We don't want to tell you how to to discipline your children. We want to disciple you through that. Like we want to help you, so because like if he's growing, you're growing. Like even down to you're talking to this little girl that just like that little girl, through your discipleship, that little girl is discipling her family. They're getting closer to the Lord, right? Just yeah.
So I know how you do it, but so other people can hear it from you. How do you keep the school safe? So when you walk on campus, I'm able to open up a door. I'm able to walk on freely. How does that work?
There has to be order,
Right.
order in the camp, so everything has to be order, decent, in its place. So yeah, parents are welcome, but they have to walk through the right door. You know what I mean? You don't just, it's sad because that was one of, I worked at our school when all the gates were open, all day long. Never had a single issue where it was, you know what I mean? But those days we're as administrators, we're well aware those days are gone, and that's sad. That's a sad commentary on our culture, but it's a reality that we have to do. So there's everything's locked, everything's closed, and we have one door that is always locked, but Mackenzie is so nice to buzz you in.
Oh yeah, you get buzzed in at our school.
You get buzzed in, and then we have our lobby guard system to where it does an immediate background check just from your driver's license and stuff, and so all these things because we know.
Wait, what? Is that what that little scanner thing is up front? I had no idea.
So it does a background check on you immediately.
So an immediate background check.
And it happens that if you got something on it, like within seconds, I'll get an email. And
I know a pastor who had this. And they're like, yeah, we can't do this because something just doesn't come up right.
Oh, wow. I see. I didn't know. I wasn't even aware of that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you're safe. These
I've been there 4 years. I didn't know.
The parents that come on are safe. They're going to be there. So
there's vetted as we can vet them.
Absolutely.
And that's just the reality. Like children need to be protected. That's the innocent of your society needs to be protected. That's just that should be a societal norm. You know what I mean? So obviously we have to make sure we're doing that in the threats that exist.
So
us.
families are safe.
Families are safe. I again, my kids have been there for like 5 years.
Absolutely.
Never had an issue. Never once. It's never been an issue. Being the teacher there on campus, like the drilling and just the different procedures that are implemented. The place is solid. The place is solid.
But also and this is a big deal. And I don't. People sometimes think I use this as an excuse not to be prepared, but to me, it's the greatest preparedness that undergirds it all is, again, relationship and community. If someone doesn't belong, someone recognizes that.
Oh, immediately
because we know, we know our people, we know our parents, and our parents know our people and our parents. And, that happens. We have transient community that walks the street right in front. And, sometimes they're not of right mind, and they'll spill onto campus, and that's like I get a phone call, radio call, like immediately. There's no accidental, you know what I mean? So that's I try to sell that as because again we Americans, we love our programs and our procedures and all this stuff, but I'm just saying there's just this beauty and just a community of people that knows everybody and knows who belongs and who doesn't belong. And man, I pity the person that tries to walk on our campus with bad intentions. Because I can think of like
There's
50 people on the top of my mind.
There's 6 dads that are just ran through my brain immediately. You said that, I'm like, that's a problem.
Because it's really going to be the first one.
That's a problem.
The first one that sees it is it's on, and it's you know what I'm saying. So I don't know, like morbid curiosity. I'd like to like to see what that looks like, but I just that's reality.
Mess around and find out.
Yeah, no,
But the thing is, that's cool is you've never had to worry about that.
Yeah,
Like in all the years you've been there.
God's grace.
Oh,
he's been
that's amazing.
46 years. He has protected us from any tragic circumstance, and he could do something different in the future. So that's why we're making sure we're ready for everything. But I like the character, especially of the men on campus. That
Absolutely.
there's no run the other way. It's kind of the opposite. That's the biggest concern I have is, how many people are going to be running towards it. You know what I mean? Because that's like, okay, let's still make sure, like,
Yep.
I'd like you guys all to, I'd like us all to be around, so.
No, 100%.
So just to get numbers out there, how many kids are at the school and how many teachers?
Should we give out those numbers?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Sorry, I was just.
I know, just making
I'm playing.
Yeah,
sorry.
that's fine. No,
At one time it was 667 because we didn't want to say the 666.
we were 665, but we made sure made sure that we admitted 2 students, not 1. So we held off on.
I was just gonna say you can count Elijah as a half. So like,
Whatever you need.
We were never going to type that. It was literally a board report where we were like, no, it's 665 right now. We're 660 again, which is again it's all-time highs for our little 10-acre plot of land. In teachers, full-time teachers, say like 35, and then our staff, like the staff has just been growing leaps and bounds as well, just with all the new ways that we try to service our kiddos. I mean, our full staff it's getting close to 100 now, but that includes part-time, that includes flex, it includes everybody. So yeah, and so now it's the time for us to grow and to build. That's
So to wrap this up, Kurt, if you could summarize, just like, maybe not even summarize, maybe just looking at DCA in the next 5-10 years, looking at just Christian education the next 5 and 10 years, what would be the overall win for DCA, for Christian education in a whole in the next 5-10 years? Like, what would be just a solid win for Christian education for DCA as a whole?
I mean, Christian education as a whole, I know what I'm expecting to happen at DCA with 5 years, and if it doesn't happen, I'm going to cry and fire myself,
Because God's plan. Oh, man.
So, I mean, for us specifically, it's facilities that can house the programs that modern education needs.
Yeah.
That's something on my heart. Is I never want a student to have to sacrifice to be a part of a Christian education. Sacrifice a gifting or a talent that they have, so that's something that we're aggressively working towards in the future is because one of our things, like, we have 10 acres and we're maximizing it, so we have to expand and we have to build facilities for the arts and all these different programs that we're creating, and technology and things of that nature. So that's I never want a family to be like, oh man, because this happens a lot where they like, Kirk, DCA is our first choice. We just, because of this gift that God has put in our we're going to go to this other school that has this program. Yeah, like, that breaks my heart because I know that that's a well-intentioned family and the Lord will the Lord will continue to move in their family, and it's no hard feelings. But it's like, nah, that's the school leader. Like that can't happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So really, really driving hard to make that a reality in the future. But I think more like, and really we're trying to build a curriculum around a better question. So the question that we were all asked when we were growing up in school was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And so that makes education two things. It benefits just this kind of future you, but then you yourself become the benefactor of your own education. And in a Christian, with a Christian worldview, that should be opposite. My education should benefit the community that I end up being called to. Those should be the benefactors of my education. It shouldn't be, well, now I get to be this vocation, so I get this salary. That's, Matthew 20:28. Jesus did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. So that's kind of our, what we want to see Christian education producing is students that graduate and go out, and because they were educated at our school, their community's better because of it. So that question, that question is, what problem is God calling you to solve? As opposed to, what do you want to be when you grow up? We want our kids starting in kindergarten, preschool, to start praying, thinking through, like, we live in this fallen world with a bajillion problems, and God, through Christ, is the redeeming agent of solving those problems in the name of Jesus. And so really getting our kids, so by the time if they could be 18 and be like, man, God's put this call on my life, there's this problem in this community, and I believe I'm supposed to be called to solve that, and I've been equipped to do so for 18 years, as opposed to this checklist mentality that happens in traditional education, where it's like, you walk in English class, it's like, okay, what boxes do I have to check off to get the grade that my mom requires? Whatever it is, A, B, C, D's still get degrees, and
C's as well. Just want to.
B's do too, but
y'all got B's?
But anyway, but that's really that's like 90% of students walking around in any American traditional education is, what's the least I have to do to check this box? So, because I have to check this box so I can keep checking all the boxes so that I can graduate and I can become what I want to be when I grow up. And so teachers pulling their hair out, trying to motivate kids and all this. And it's because this, again, the system, like, we're asking them the wrong question.
Yeah.
We're asking, we've done this to ourselves, so really we're building an entire curriculum around that supports the idea, what problem is God calling you to solve? And so that once you kind of, that light bulb goes off, you're walking in a classroom and a teacher's saying, oh, you know what? I can help equip you. I can help make sure you're useful. Because once you identify a problem that you really want to see solved, you want to make sure you're helpful and not a hindrance. So we unintentionally graduate hindrances to solutions, and we don't even recognize it. We don't even think about it, So anyways, that's long-winded.
Kurt just pretty much just gave the heart behind Strive right now.
I was just going to say
right?
it to you.
Like,
I'm
literally just gave the
go.
heart behind Strive, which is why, like, we're so excited to have that on DCA campus.
so
and
stoked.
What did the kids say the other day? I felt like this was a therapy class. Like,
Yeah,
they're
right,
He's
right.
pulling. He's pulling.
you know what, Kirk? Like, just I don't know if you picked up on it. Like, a lot of, like, my language and what my theories and my beliefs when it comes to calling and purpose. Like, I don't know if you picked up on it or not. I just hang out with this guy too much. But just like, it really has transformed for me, just our conversations about calling and purpose, and just it was founded on that idea of sitting in one of our before school starts, there's like a teacher week where we'll come in, like almost like a workshops and things like that. But that was one of the big primary pushes that Kirk, I don't know if I'm giving away too much by saying bring in the tank aspect, bring in the tank, the tank, which we don't have enough time to explain it, but it's this idea again of just this getting the kids out of this thinking of
The Ford.
What benefits me, right? Versus like, what can I do to benefit the people that God has called me to?
This guy comes up because this reminds me of a story that happened just a few years ago. We're taking out a group of doctors to go to homeless camps, okay? And this guy pulls up in this really nice car. I'm not going to say what it is because it'll probably give away who the person is. Came up in this nice car, and he's treating these homeless people, and some of them are just bug bites, like huge, ugly, abscessed bug bites, and ingrown toenails, and things like that. And this guy comes up to me when he's done in his beautiful, nice Italian leather boots, right? And he comes up in the middle of a desert, and he starts crying. And I'm like, well, is everything okay? And he says, you know what? I forgot the reason why I went into medicine. Because I haven't gone out to my own community. I haven't done this to invest back in. He goes, I've been worried, my status, my money, my this and that. And he goes, I need these kind of things. So imagine, even myself, if I would have had a Christian education like that as well, my parents love Jesus. They poured into us as well. But to have an education where everybody behind you is rooting for you in that kind of way, man, I would be in a different place than I was.
Absolutely.
It took me till 26, but I mean, it's just so cool. I'm excited to see my kids graduate from this.
100%.
To see, the people that are around them right now to follow with them throughout that time. I've seen graduates from DCA that are still friends with one another, and the amazing things that are happening. And I'm excited.
Dave, the school is so good. I commute. I'm on the road 4 hours a day to keep coming to this school.
That's nuts.
It's that good. I drive from Apple Valley to Bermuda Dunes every day because the school is that
Absolutely.
good. And granted, that's all jokes aside and everything.
And you know what?
But
We love Jesus. I know that he put it on our heart to start the Narrow Door, and financially he's going to continue to take care of us. But there's other great nonprofits, great groups that are doing some incredible things that you need to get behind. So get behind DCA.
100%.
Here, I hope you hear this. You're encouraged. You're like, hey, you know what? I want to know a little bit more. I want to send my kids there. Or, hey, I just want to give to be able to help another family. Please do it. God's going to provide for us, so you guys need to go out and provide as well for them through, this incredible team of staff, volunteers.
And the last thing I want to say, because you guys have been too kind to DCA, but David in particular, one of the best decisions I made, and this was when I was chaplain, and you mentioned it, was we were doing the Operation Christmas Child boxes, and which is cool. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It
was cool.
I get it. Like if your church does it, that's great.
Yeah.
But then the Lord just hit me. He's like, you have the Narrow Door here in your community. That's doing something better than giving an Operation Christmas Child box to families that are in the community that your school's trying to service. And we shifted our whole focus. We dropped the Christmas box thing, and we've been partnering with Narrow Door ever since. And it's been one of the best. I haven't had a lot of good decisions, but that was a huge decision. That was because, we've been going out in the community together for years before. So Narrow Door is the real deal as far as in the Christian world, people like to do things for social media posts and get pats on the back. Hey, look, you serve these homeless. But Narrow Door has been real, been authentic, been lasting. Think of how many homeless ministries have popped in and out. And, you and I have had conversations and even ones that intruded on the communities that you've been already building relationships and serving, but they were trying to use those communities so that they felt better about themselves, and where you've been actually investing relationally in these communities, and you guys are still doing it. So I had to make sure Narrow Door.
Appreciate it.
I'm so stoked that we're doing something as formal as Strive.
Yep.
Because that's been I can't even tell you how that's just a dream come true for me.
It's like identity. I loved it.
It is.
And now we get to do it in a class.
And they get school credit for it. It's crazy.
Absolutely. So there might be some other schools that are listening. We would love to bring it to your school and teach you. So
they'd be dumb not to. They'd be dumb not to.
Yeah. Well, Kirk, I know I can speak for Dave when I say this. Brother, we love you so much.
And the Narrow Door.
Dave and the Narrow Door, the Ramirez family, the Sanchez family. We love the Scott family. We love our family at DCA. We thank you guys so stinking much. So much. Unbelievably grateful. Not just for the love that you've given me. I tell people this all the time. Like, I judge my relationships with people not by the love that they give me, but with the love that they show my family. And the way in which DCA, the way in which you've personally, the way in which your family has loved not just my children, but many children here in the Valley, Dave's children, like, just unbelievably grateful for the work that you guys are doing. I'm blessed that I even get to be a part of it. I just thank you for the opportunity to be there on campus and to love on those students. And thank you just for loving on my personal students, my children, man, because they love that place. That is their home, their second home, other than the car that they ride in every day. But they love it. I mean, and I'll end on this story, Kirk, just because this is the coolest thing. Because, obviously moving to the high desert, we were, I was looking at taking them to public school up there, and there were some few other Christian schools, and just testing the waters and seeing her. But my kids pulled me aside maybe about a week and a half before DCA started up, and they were like, "Dad, we need to talk to you." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "What do you guys need?" And they cornered me. They like sat me on the couch and were like, "Listen, we will commute with you." And I was like, "What?" And they were like, "Dad, we will ride with you." I'm like, "You guys know it's 4 hours, like
ride or die, right?"
And they were like, "No, Dad, we want to be at DCA. We will make the ride." And I'll tell you what, Kirk, they have not complained once. They were so happy to be back. They were so happy to see their friends. They were so happy to see their teachers. Yeah. And granted, it's still pretty early, but I will tell you what, Kirk, my boys, you have changed the DCA culture. You, all the staff members. So many people I could list through and thank, but man, you guys have eternally changed my son's lives. And so I just thank you so much, man. It's been so great having you here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yep.
Heck yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. But that's it. That's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 8. This is 8. I lost count again.
Yep.
This is
Something
8.
like
but
that, 8.
we did the thing. But anyway, thank you guys so much for listening.
Education is an investment, and DCA is definitely worth it.
100%.
Definitely worth it.
100%. Check them out. It's desertchristianacademy.org to give them a look. You can also follow Desert Christian Academy on Instagram. If you didn't know, Kirk is actually a professional podcaster. The Christianing, check it out anywhere you can listen to podcasts, Spotify, iTunes. It's really good. I know I'm biased, but it's really, really good. I enjoy it. It has some amazing conversations on there. Also, if you are interested in volunteering at the Narrow Door, if you are in need of services, if you want to just help your community, if you're more interested even on the youth side of things and wanting to look at Strive and how you can be a part of that, check out our website, www.thenarrowdoor.org. We have a volunteer sign-up list. We have resources for anybody that needs anything as far as food, hygiene, clothing, things of that nature. Go ahead and check it out. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us for a few minutes. And until next time,
amen.
We out.